So do you guys view yourselves more than as activists for Democrats or for engagement with Cuba, or is that just like a facet of?
It's a facet because, you know, when you actually approach the Cuban-American community and you ask them what issues they care about, Cuba policy isn't necessarily the first one on their mind. Like, we care about the same issues that the rest of the country cares about: the economy, healthcare, public education.
I'm here in Miami having coffee with folks from Cubanos Con Biden. I want to learn what they stand for, what they expect now that the Biden-Harris administration is about to take office, and how they differ from their conservative counterparts here in the South Florida area.
What we wanted to do was basically create a space for Cuban Americans that didn't agree with the status quo and were really trying to relive the last 8 years of the Obama administration, which were so positive for Latinos generally, but for Cuban Americans specifically.
There's no reason why traditionally the Cuban American community should be viewed as strictly right-wing. It's not. You know, our community's not a monolith. There's another side to the argument.
Now that Biden's in office, what are some of the expectations that the liberal Cuban American community has for what this administration can and will do?
Obviously, we care deeply about Cuba, but outside of that, you know, we care deeply about the same issues that most Americans care about. So dealing with this pandemic crisis, other issues on immigration and healthcare and education. I mean, there's a lot of problems that the Biden-Harris administration are going to have to deal with. And certainly we would love to see Cuba be a priority in the next 4 years, but also with the understanding that, you know, President Joe Biden has a lot on his plate.
And he made it very clear that, you know, whatever Cuba policy his administration puts forth, it's going to involve the voices of the community down here in South Florida, the Cuban American community, and it's going to involve dialogue with Cuba.
What do you think people on the right would say about what you believe or what you're doing? I mean, like the conservative Cuban Americans. I don't mean right people in Iowa who really don't even know what this issue is.
So, you know, not to knock conservative Cuban Americans, because they do have some valid points. There's valid policy points on the right, you know, and I have no issues debating and talking about those policies. But what we're finding more often than not is, especially with this last election, the moment you approach to have that conversation, you're labeled a communist and there's no conversation to be had.
Are you communist?
No.
Well, so to that end, like part of the motto of Cubanos Con Biden is 100% anti-comunista, 100% anti-fascista, 100% anti-racista, 100% con Biden.
I wish they would stop taking the easy way out of just saying, oh, those are communists, and closing off the conversation. We need to have those conversations with our community so that we can move forward together.
I have seen the positive impact of engagement has had on Cubans, but what about like Cuban Americans?
So one of the positive impacts of the Obama administration's policy was opening the door for us to be able to visit the island and get to know that culture, but more importantly, for them to be able to meet us. In Cuba, at the same time, there's all this propaganda and all these myths about the imperialist Americans, they're evil, this and that, and that's the biggest scapegoat that they have. So being able to meet us, see that we're just normal people just like them, have that dialogue was absolutely groundbreaking.
We've been able to build something so incredible and so beautiful here in Miami. You know, regardless of the politics, I will always be internally grateful for that first wave of exiles that came here where there was no support system. I mean, now a Cuban comes to Miami and, you know, hey, what's it? Yeah, you know, your primo, your prima, we're everywhere. But that first wave of immigrants, I mean, there were literally signs that said, you know, no dogs, no black people, no Cubans. And those people really dealt with serious hardship. And so that's why when I see some national media narratives like attacking them without really understanding the pain and trauma of our community, frankly, it pisses me off. And I wholeheartedly disagree with their policies.
You know, our community's full of brilliant, smart people that sacrifice it all to build a life here. I'm seeing that there's an opportunity for us to have that dialogue and change the way things are done.
Even though we have our differences, we're both Cuban American and we care deeply about the same things, because at the end of the day, a Cuban American that voted for Trump and a Cuban American that voted for Biden, they both want to see Cuba free. They just have different approaches, but sitting down and having that conversation, that's the first step.